Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the latest with the COVID inquiry as the government hand over all the files requested of them that they had in line with last week's court order. But that does not include Boris Johnson's phone. What is Boris Johnson's game in effectively defying a judge? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So the COVID inquiry, led by retired Judge Baroness Hallett, made an order for lots of records, including WhatsApp messages related to the decision-making of senior ministers and officials during that crucial period of pandemic handling in 2020. And for the avoidance of doubt, this specifically included the WhatsApp messages on Boris Johnson's phone from that period of time. Rishi Sunak resisted this order from the inquiry by saying, we don't want to hand over irrelevant documents. We'll just see which ones we should hand over. Hallett said, I'm the judge, so I'll be the judge of what's relevant or not. Hand it over, son. Sunak said no. So a court case ensued, which the government lost last week. The COVID inquiry then set a new deadline for the handover of the documents that they wanted. And that deadline was 4 p.m. yesterday, so it's now gone. Now, for context, remember that Boris Johnson, throughout all of this, was publicly saying that the inquiry should have full access to all the documents. I would totally comply with everything. He said he had nothing to hide, and he was more than happy to hand over his records. He even appeared to speak in favour of the inquiry during the judicial review. So to the casual observer, it might seem strange that the Cabinet Office, which was resisting the inquiry, has now said it's handed over all the documents ahead of the deadline, but that Boris Johnson, who says he fully supports the moves to let the inquiry have everything, has not done so. Now, I'm sure Johnson is getting sound legal advice, no doubt, at our expense, and I'm quite sure that he's not in open defiance of this court order, because the order from the inquiry was for documents held by the Cabinet Office. It was an order to the Cabinet Office directly, not to Boris Johnson separately as well. So the blonde buffoon is in the clear for now. As I say, the government have actually said that the order was for documents in their possession. So they're saying, well, look, this phone isn't in our possession, nor are the WhatsApp messages on the phone, so we can't hand them over. So we have fully complied with the order. But Hallett still wants the records on the mobile phone, which Johnson has refused to hand over to the government. According to a report in The Independent, Johnson was defending the delay by saying he was still working with government security officials on how best to switch on the old phone without compromising security. So a bit of background to what happened here. So Boris Johnson had a mobile phone, of course he did, through 2020, using it to WhatsApp, blah, 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 blah. Then, apparently, conveniently, it was discovered that his mobile phone was freely available online and had been for many years. So all of a sudden, this phone was considered a security risk. So they turned it off to prevent people hacking it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, right. So then he gets a new phone and he's happy to hand over the messages from then. But coincidence of coincidences, the new phone only records things after those key decision-making periods of the pandemic. So now he's trying to say, well, if only we could find some way of turning on the phone, extracting the data and then turning it off again, all securely. So that's what the discussions are about. This is the most pathetic excuse ever. Like, I'm not a data security expert, but I am a physics graduate. It's really simple. You take it into a Faraday cage, you turn it on, you extract the data, then you turn it off again. It's really that simple. What we have here is the following situation. Boris Johnson has a phone which contains a lot of information of interest to the inquiry. It is government data, so the government have a legal right to it. They can force him to hand it over. They asked for it in January. He said no. They could have just got a warrant and taken it off him. All this guff about negotiating the best way to safely extract the data is hogwash. Not only is it really easy to safely extract the data, but it has got nothing to do with Boris Johnson. The government don't have to come up with a way of satisfying Johnson that they will safely extract the data. It's government data. It's for the government to secure. What will almost certainly be happening here is neither Johnson nor Sunak wants these records handing over. So they are as happy as each other to pretend that they're at loggerheads with each other, but to carry out this performative debate about how we secure a phone, which not a single security expert in the world will say is a problem. After all, the government could easily force Johnson to hand a phone over if they wanted to. As I say, they've got every legal right to it. It's government data. That they are negotiating, or putting on a pretense of negotiating, is because Sunak wants that phone about as much as a hole in the head. Now, in terms of where we go from here, we know several things in relation to Boris Johnson's mobile phone. So what do we know? We know that the COVID inquiry specifically requested the WhatsApp messages stored on it. So they want those records. They didn't just ask for WhatsApp messages that the Cabinet Office has. They specifically want those WhatsApp messages. Second, we know that the inquiry does not just give up because some munchkin in the Cabinet Office says, sorry, we can't help you. Third, we know Boris Johnson has said that he's happy for the messages to be handed over if only they can be extracted securely. Fourth, it's a piece of piss to extract them securely. Literally, you could just give the phone to GCHQ. They will happily extract all the data securely and even batter the phone into many pieces with a sledgehammer as part of the deal. Problem solved. This nonsense about it being a tricky security issue is a charade, and I'm quite sure Baroness Hallett has been told as much. So whatever delaying tactics Johnson and Sunak are playing at here, I imagine are just those. The inquiry has records from the Cabinet Office to go over now, so they've got stuff to be doing. You could argue they may not need Johnson's records like this minute, but I think at some point they are going to more robustly demand those records. Maybe they could even interview a data security expert. That because there's a public inquiry in its public phase now. In other words, they're getting people to give evidence to the inquiry in public. Maybe they could invite a data security expert to come and explain just how easy it is to extract the data securely. But there is time. Remember, this inquiry's got a long time to run. So I'm not sure delaying tactics really going to achieve very much. It might be different if they were planning on the general election this autumn, because maybe they could delay it beyond autumn, but I don't think they're going to delay it to the end of the inquiry itself. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button, and if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.